Reported by Variety at the time, there was a short video floating on the internet depicting a person firstly identified as a quote source at the bar to be Ezra. Apparently the video reveals Ezra seemingly strangling a woman before they tossed her to the ground. Coverage of the clip initially brought about confusion on Twitter because the original tweet, which has since been deleted, was surrounded by claims from several women saying the unidentified subject appeared to be laughing in the video. However, the source from Variety explained things oppositely, going as far as to say that the situation was a serious encounter and how Ezra was escorted from the supposedly heated scene. The same source also detailed that the alleged incident was caused by a group of pushy supporters of Ezra who eventually confronted them at the Iceland area bar. At number 9, we have Ezra's multiple alleged altercations in Hawaii between March and May of this year. Ezra's first report of being locked up came from regional outlet Hawaii News Now in March, where they were arrested on charges of disorderly conduct and harassment. The incident supposedly involved a few Silva Street patrons being roped into Ezra's erratic violence. Hawaiian police stepped forward with claims that Ezra was agitated due to the karaoke-related events that took place in the establishment. Reportedly, Ezra not only tried to harm those involved in the altercation, but also shouted obscenities at them. In the same month, Ezra busted into the bedroom of two people who were allegedly granted a temporary restraining order against the actor. The Associated Press confirmed and further reported that Ezra was later charged with harassment. However, the prosecutors dropped the charge as part of a plea deal alongside an unrelated traffic charge. For the latter month, the restraining order was also dropped, but this didn't stop Ezra from being arrested again in the sunny state on the grounds of suspicion of assault. For this incident, Ezra was accused of throwing a chair in a mid-20-year-old woman's head, also mentioned in the 911 call released by TMZ. At number 8, we have Ezra's accusations of an 18-year-old activist. In June of this year, legal documents obtained by TMZ disclose how the alleged victim, Tokata Iron Eyes, was reportedly prepped by Ezra according to their parents' suspicions. This hasn't fully been disclosed, however we did gain insight from TMZ that the teen apparently met the actor in 2016 at North Dakota's Standing Rock Reservation. If the claims of Dakota's parents are true, Ezra was 23 and Dakota was 12 at the time. The activist's parents detailed how the two grew into an eventual friendship, and how Ezra even flew Takata out to London in 2017 to visit the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them sets as they filmed. Their parents also suggested that Ezra made the decision for Takata to be a non-binary transgender who would go by a new name of Gibson. At this point, Takata would have been 14. Takata's parents further accused Ezra of illegally providing their daughter with alcohol and hard substances while they were underage. When Takata dropped out of their Massachusetts private school, their parents provided Ezra with the blame for this as well. According to them, Ezra dropped by their Vermont home in January to see Takata, who they also claimed had bruises and was missing their driver's license, bank cards, and car keys. The legal documents stated that Ezra often resorted to violence, manipulation, and intimidation to sway Takata as a young adolescent, adding that they had shown quote cult-like controlling behavior. A judge has since signed a protective order which prevented Ezra from contacting the family, but it hasn't been served yet as the authorities have no clue of the family's whereabouts. Still, there is a hearing scheduled for July 12th. In response, Takata's father explained to Newsweek about how he feared Ezra's quote state of mind and debates if they'll lash out at them for their cautionary measures. However, Takata released an Instagram post later which denied their parents' claims, followed by a shared video to confirm their statement. Quote, "I dropped out 5 months ago. My friend William passed shortly thereafter. My mind was incredibly impacted and I've needed space and time for the processing of grief. My comrade Ezra Miller, for the entirety of the aforementioned era, has not only provided loving support and invaluable protection throughout this period of loss. My father and his allegations hold no weight and are frankly transphobic, based in the notion that I am somehow incapable of coherent thought or opposing opinions to those of my own kindred, worrying about my well-being. I am now aware of the severity of emotional and psychological manipulation I was made to endure while in my parents' home." At number 7, we have the 12-year-old who was granted an order of protection against Ezra in June 2022. The Massachusetts-based child and their mother were approved of a temporary arrangement against the actor after alleging that Ezra threatened their family with a weapon in the home of their neighbors, as well as behaved inappropriately towards the reportedly non-binary child. The mother explained in a Daily Beast interview how things became heated when she described her friend group as her tribe, which allegedly prompted Ezra to deem her words as cultural appropriation. Apparently there was also an argument about a board game stemming from Rastafarian roots with the neighbor whose racial description is half black. Reportedly it was at this point where the party claimed Ezra began shouting obscenities in her face and suggested they had no idea what they were saying. The neighbor also recalled being caught off guard, especially when Ezra apparently opened up their shirt jacket to reveal a concealed weapon with the words, "Talking like that could get you in a really serious situation." Further, according to the neighbor, Ezra then turned to the child and began talking about how he held great power over them and how lucky they would have been to have Ezra as a guidance. In response, the child later detailed to the publication, "They automatically were just weirdly drawn to me and kept talking about how they love my outfit and love my style. It was uncomfortable. I was really nervous. I was scared to be around them after they'd yelled at my mother and she was crying." At number 6, we have reports of Ezra supposedly forcing a mother and 3 children to live on an unsafe farm. In June of this year, Ezra was supposedly caught housing a 25-year-old mom and her 3 children between the ages of 1 to 5 at their Vermont farm. Apparently, they introduced themselves in Hawaii and had been staying there as early as April, but the living arrangements sparked concern in the young children's father, with 2 additional sources stepping forward to claim the farm is an unsafe environment for kids. They claim there are unattended weapons around the property, with one even saying the baby allegedly picked up a loose bullet and put it in her mouth. However, the mother has claimed Ezra has helped her and her kids' removal from the quote, violent and X, while also providing a safe environment for her children. The supposed sanctuary was described by the mom as being a healing haven for her and her kids. The mother even alleged that the firearms are stored for self-defense and her kids cannot access them, rather that her children are able to relax with the knowledge of quote safety and nurturing Ezra has been providing for them. At number 5, we have the Berlin incident, where Ezra was accused of mishandling a woman named Nadia. Nadia threw Ezra under the bus with claims of harassment who, according to her, happened after Ezra was invited to her Germany apartment in February 2022. Nadia described her 2-year friendship with the actor, but reportedly they failed to meet in person prior to one consensual romantic encounter in 2020. Following this, Ezra reportedly flipped out in February when the two were informed they were unable to smoke inside the home. Apparently, this is where Ezra lost it, and Nadia described telling Ezra to leave multiple times, only for them to begin hurling insults at her. While on this name-calling spiel, Nadia recalled Ezra also walking through her apartment, spreading tobacco leaves on the floor and touching everything in their path, leaving Nadia feeling intruded and disgusting. According to Nadia, it took Ezra an approximate half hour to dip, and when he did, Nadia explained feeling as if she would be physically attacked and felt unsafe overall. Nadia later filed a criminal complaint, which has since been dropped due to Ezra leaving the country. At number 4, we have the sources who claimed Ezra's paranoia in regards to the FBI and supremacist hate group are dangerous. A freshly published insider piece from August of this year dived deep into Ezra's supposed mental health issues, including comments from a number of anonymous sources who expressed utter concern for the actor's well-being. One source claimed it's hard for them to take action against Ezra when they have so many resources. Another said Ezra has been cruising around the States with at least one gun and a bulletproof vest on deck. Additionally, there are allegations that Ezra has grown paranoid of the potential of being stalked by the FBI or KKK clan. This comes following their social media sharing of a video targeting a North Carolina chapter of the hate group. In this same report, there are further allegations that Ezra's 2020 Iceland stay included an Airbnb rental that would later become criticized, with locals expressing concerns over supposed cult-esque behavior. At number 3, we have Ezra reportedly being an on-set hazard. It's no secret that Warner Bros. Rumoredly held an emergency meeting due to Ezra's behavior, and their impromptu meetup was apparently made to discuss the actor's future with their studio in revelation of their many arrests. A Rolling Stone source dished that Warner Bros. Initially decided to quote hit pause on any future project involving Miller, including possible appearances in the DC cinematic universe. The insider also spoke with the magazine more about the actor's apparent frequent meltdowns and claimed that while The Flash was still in production that year, Ezra was losing it. However, the same source also said that their meltdowns weren't violent, but that Ezra would think of certain things and lose themselves over the fact that they had no idea what they were doing at the time. Despite, there was another source who informed IndieWire that apparently no meeting was ever held in regards to this. At number 2, we have the mix of scandals that has landed Ezra in their current situation, which is all of their run-ins with the law. Variety was one of the many information outlets who surrounded the topic of the Fantastic Beasts premiere, where they explained how Ezra, alongside Johnny Depp, who was also in deep controversy at the time over the results of his messy defamation trial, were complicating the rollout for the series. This is all in light of Ezra's return to the films from their last 2 entries, where studio officials behind the sequels release were reportedly more or less forced to back down on any previous plans around promotions and headlining Ezra's presence. The reason for this was Ezra's Hawaii troubles that fell in the same month, and so their constant scandals, which they should be imprisoned for, along with Johnny's untimely spiral, quickly caused massive headaches for promotions. As a result, Johnny was soon removed from his role due to his ex-wife's AB allegations against him. At number 1, we have the one thing that Ezra should be, and most likely will actually be imprisoned for, and that is their burglary indictment. They were hit with this charge most recently earlier this month when Vermont State Police made the announcement that the actor had been arraigned for burglary involving a residence in Vermont that had several alcohol beverages stolen while the homeowners were away, apparently by Ezra. The investigation soon tied Ezra to the involvement of the crime, and as per police, there was included surveillance footage as well as witness statements to back claims up. On the 7th of this month, Ezra was issued a citation to make a court appearance with a date of September 26.
Number 10. Intimidation. A former intimate partner of Ezra called the police on the actor for allegedly threatening violence on them and becoming irate when asked to leave. The German woman who goes by the name Nadia told Variety in a recent expose that the alleged encounter with Ezra occurred when she invited them over to her Berlin apartment in February. She said at first the actor was super nice and polite until she told them that they couldn't smoke inside her home. Quote, that just set them off. I asked them to leave about 20 times, maybe more. It was then that Ezra started insulting her and ordering her around as though she were a dog. But if you really want to know the strangest thing of all, apparently the 29-year-old went on a rant calling themselves the maker of planets and saying that tobacco was sacred to them. And while saying this, they were reportedly walking around her apartment spreading tobacco leaves on everything. It sounds kind of funny, but Nadia felt physically threatened and she convinced Ezra to leave by saying that she called the police. Number 9. Attempted break-in. At nearly 6 a.m. the next morning, Nadia heard a loud banging noise at the front door of her apartment building. When she looked inside, she could see Ezra at the door seemingly attempting to break it down, and said that they were screaming and kicking, that Nadia had stolen their passport and money. She then discovered that Ezra had left behind a second jacket in her apartment, which did in fact contain their passport and credit card. She threw down the jacket to them from her balcony and quickly ran inside. It was an alarming final incident to what had already been a frightening experience. Quote, I did not feel safe. She added that she had not seen Ezra since that night and she blocked their number on her phone. But she was deeply shaken about everything, as the actor has reportedly broken down the door into her bedroom as well when she tried to lock it and get them out of her apartment in the first place. Very scary stuff. Number 8. Iceland Bar. Carlos Rainier was the former bartender at a pub in Iceland that Ezra frequented. Rainier spoke to Variety, confessing that he had to intervene in 2 separate altercations involving the actor. The first was a heated argument between Ezra and a male patron that began as banter and ended in the actor putting the man in a chokehold and later slapping him. Rainier, who broke up the fight, says Ezra later apologized for the incident and the other patron quickly shrugged it off as a joke. All was forgiven and they were allowed to return to the bar, but the next time they actually choked a young woman at the bar, and that was much harder to forgive. Rainier opened up about what it was like working at a bar that seemed to be Ezra's favorite place to cause trouble. Quote, if they weren't lighting incense or candles or even bringing in their own Bluetooth speaker and playing it super loud to overpower our music, there was always something. The bartender recalled multiple occasions where Ezra caused a scene and even spat on him when he tried to break up a fight. Number 7. Victim speaks out. The incident grabbed global headlines when footage of Ezra placing a female fan in a chokehold and pushing her to the ground went viral online in early April of 2020. Soon after the incident, Variety was able to speak with the woman who was attacked, and her side of the story is pretty shocking. When she told Ezra to meet her in the smoking area, she said she wasn't serious. Quote, it was just a joke, obviously, but they took that literally and got super mad and came running outside. That's when one of the woman's friends started recording. She told Variety that at first she thought it was all fun and games. Quote, all of a sudden they're on top of me, choking me, still screaming in my face if I want to fight. It was then that her friend stopped recording and tried to push Ezra off her, and the actor started screaming, this is what you wanted. The woman said they even spat in her friend's face multiple times, and to think all of this happened because of a joke. Number 6. Supermarket incident. Ezra seems to be getting entangled in controversy after controversy, most recently being on the run from the US law enforcement. Now the actor has randomly recently appeared in a supermarket in an undisclosed location in the height of their social media frenzies. The TikTok video, which featured the actor, was posted to an Instagram named Peter Knighton on Sunday and has been viewed over 3.5 million times on that platform alone. The 10-second clip shows a young retail worker attempt to take a selfie with Ezra and presumably calls himself a fan, insinuating that he is excited or starstruck. The actor, who appears to be mid-conversation with someone else, notices the camera on them, and they then tell the fan, quote, "I could always just knock you out and then you won't have to panic." The young man is a little confused at first and unsure if they are the ones being spoken to, but Ezra looks right at him and says, "Just let me know." No? Yes? It really begs the question, why do they love attacking their fans so much? Number 5. Massachusetts. The Daily Beast recently published a shocking report that Ezra allegedly got into an aggressive confrontation with a Greenfield, Massachusetts family over a board game. Yes, you heard that right. To give you some background, the family's home is around 40 miles from Ezra's farm in Vermont. The family's downstairs neighbor is reportedly in a band with one of Ezra's friends, and while visiting their home, they got into an argument with the mother because she told a story about some recent travels with friends and called them her tribe of people. The actor then responded with accusations of cultural appropriation, and tensions continued to escalate when the Flash star claimed that the board game Parcheesi was rooted in Rastafarian culture. The mother questioned Ezra about this, and they responded by screaming into her face. According to the report, they then allegedly opened up their jacket to reveal a weapon and said, quote, "Talking like that could get you into a really serious situation." Wow. Number 4. Flash set. A new report reveals that Ezra had frequent meltdowns on the Flash movie set, although sources state that they were not really violent outbursts. Miller had made their debut in the DC Extended Universe with Justice League as Barry Allen, the speedy superhero living in Central City who was enlisted by Ben Affleck's Batman to join the super team and face off against Steppenwolf. The star continues to be the center of controversy. Sources on The Flash noted that this behavior didn't result in any vocal or violent outbursts from the star, but rather periods in which Ezra was, quote, losing it. An anonymous source to the star said, quote, "Ezra would get a thought in his head and say, 'I don't know what I'm doing.'" The report also revealed that Warner Brothers and DC executives recently held an emergency meeting to discuss Ezra's future as the Flash in the DCEU, with one source stating that there was an agreement to pause any future projects involving their version of the superhero. Number 3. Viral video post. This one is really strange. In January this year, Ezra posted a cryptic video to social media in which the actor appears to threaten members of the racist supremacist group in North Carolina. In the video, Ezra suggested that if they want to die, they have the means to do it. Otherwise, the actor implied that they would be happy to assist them, saying, quote, "Then, you know, we'll do it for you if that's really what you want. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye." Along with the video, Ezra wrote in the caption, quote, "Please disseminate this video to all whom it may concern. This is not a joke, and even though I do recognize myself to be a clown, please trust me and take this seriously." During the episode, Ezra reportedly transported an unknown supply of firearms and ammunition from Vermont to North Carolina for a potential confrontation with the group. The DC superhero actor then started trending on social media, with a number of viewers taken aback by the message. We are still not sure of the underlying reason behind it, but it's safe to say that the whole thing was extremely odd. Number 2. Concealing a weapon. According to an interview with Gibson Ironizer's uncle, Lakota Chief Bear Cross, that was published by The Last Real Indians, Ezra Miller concealed that they were brandishing a pistol while visiting Gibson's family. The teenager they have been accused of kidnapping. The chief said, quote, "We were posing for a photo, and after we took the photo with my family, we decided to get one with just me and Ezra. Well, Ezra just opened their big old jacket and pulled out the .40 caliber firearm. I asked if that's real, and Ezra said yes. Ezra also said in Vermont you don't need a permit to conceal." The chief said that it made him feel very unsafe because Ezra pulled it out unannounced, and he did not know that he had a firearm. He also stressed that he would not have invited the actor into his home if he knew about this because he feared for the safety of his children. Gibson's uncle also said that just from the interactions with Ezra alone, he felt that they were dangerous and violent towards women. Honestly, that's kind of a red flag. Number 1. Deleting Instagram. They taunted police on Instagram before deleting their account altogether, and authorities are still unable to locate the actor. The Justice League star posted a number of images to their Instagram stories which looked like it was meant to mock the police search. Quote, "You cannot touch me, I am in another universe." Although Ezra's account has since been deleted, screenshots of the stories have been circulating on Twitter actor, and it's easy to see why this is aggravating people. Ezra has been accused of brainwashing an 18-year-old Indigenous activist named Gibson Ionize and has been creeping on them from a very young age. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Court has issued a protective order against Ezra, but they simply cannot serve the papers as they can't be located at all. Ezra has also posted, quote, "I am shielded from negative people and their ill intent. I am protected from all negative energy people attempt to throw at me." Well, even if the 29-year-old has gone off the deep end, most people now are clearly more concerned for the welfare of the young Gibson. Number 10. Fantastic Beasts 4. The new movie has technically already been planned by Warner Brothers, but it hasn't officially been confirmed, and the future of the franchise looks bleak, partly due to Miller's erratic behavior. Before the release of The Secrets of Dumbledore, Variety reported that the studio was waiting to see how the 3 films were received before making the tough decision about whether or not to go forward with the remaining 2 movies. But at this time, the major Ezra Miller problem that the studio has on their hands is dampening the future success of all the DC Expanded Universe projects until a firm decision is made about how to handle the star's offset issues. The actor has starred in all 3 Fantastic Beasts films, playing Credence Barebone, and is also set to headline the upcoming Flash movie. However, due to the actor's legal woes, the filmmakers have decided to drop them in the spin-off film. And with the other controversies surrounding the Fantastic Beasts trilogy, including J.K. Rowling's anti-trans comments, it's clear that any planned sequels are more or less dead in the water. Number 9. Very first arrest. In June of 2011, Miller was a passenger in a vehicle that got pulled over for a broken brake light in Pittsburgh while shooting Perks of Being a Wallflower. Police found 20 grams of a leafy green substance on Miller, and the then 18-year-old was charged with possession. The judge was very lenient though, and after giving them a lecture about influencing the younger cast members, he let them off with a slap on the wrist and dropped the case altogether. The actor instead faced 2 citations of disorderly conduct and was ordered to pay $600. But it's clear that Miller wasn't very sorry, as several years later in 2018, they started smoking the very same substance during an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. They also went on to tell New York Magazine, quote, "It's a harmless herbal substance that increases sensory appreciation," also making it known that they first started smoking from a very young age. Number 8. Strange comments. In 2011, the star took the role of a teenage school shooter in We Need to Talk About Kevin, which was eventually dubbed one of the most controversial movies ever made, probably because the subject matter was just so disturbing. Miller went very deep into the role of a sociopath with method acting, and the ultimate result was a character so unsettling that they said it even bothered some of their friends. Quote, "I do get a certain kind of validation and gratification from the way people will sort of approach me tentatively, with a little bit of fear after they see the film. The admission by itself is not that strange, but when you look at Miller's interview with Vogue several years later, they asked the writer if she would like to see the crossbow that their character used to attack several classmates in the same film. They apparently keep the crossbow in their house and jump at the opportunity to show it to anyone who asks them about the movie." Number 7. Failed music career. Miller's passion for singing didn't end after they began pursuing their acting career. Their band, Sons of an Illustrious Father, has over 22,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which means that despite Miller's fame and notoriety, the band hasn't really seen much success over a decade of making music. So things started to make sense when in May of this year, 2 musicians came forward accusing Miller of stealing music they worked on and releasing it without giving them credit. Music producer Oliver Ignatius and rapper Guy Scavera claimed that the actor stole the music they worked on together and posted it to social media without credits. Ignatius met up with Miller in both the Northeast and Hawaii to collaborate on new music, but soon realized that they, quote, "seemed to be on a very dangerous spiral," and said that working with the actor actually felt like pulling teeth. In fact, they called their behavior atrocious, belligerent, threatening, and incredibly aggressive. But after Ignatius quit the project, Miller then posted the unfinished music online, including songs that they had not worked on together at all. Now Ignatius plans to file a court order for Miller to take the music down. Number 6. Altercations with fans. The Flash actor has had so many disturbing and at times violent altercations with fans that there's almost too many to mention. One was actually captured on video in 2017 at a San Diego Comic-Con event, when a fan jokingly asked Miller to smell their breath, and Miller responded by kissing the fan directly on the mouth, planting a big kiss on the man's lips without clear consent. The trouble is that Miller seemed to be slightly intoxicated in the video, leading fans to question if they were drunk. And in a since deleted tweet, a disturbing video shows Miller choking a woman at a bar in Iceland. The incident took place after Miller was approached by a group of eager young fans, and the actor appeared to lose their temper at the young woman for no apparent reason. She was then grabbed by the throat and thrown to the ground. But the actor seemed to have evaded a lot of heat for the altercation, as some fans claim that it's still a joke. Number 5. Vermont farm. Up until now, people have only been able to speculate about what really goes on in their Vermont farm. But recently, a new report has made headlines alleging even more concerning activity involving the actor and people that are underage. According to Rolling Stone, Miller is currently housing a 25-year-old mother and her 3 young ones at their elusive home that they share with their bandmates and friends. The report suggests that the property doubles as an unlicensed farm, which grows a certain leafy green substance and is also littered with weapons. The mother claims that the actor helped her escape the domestic violence that was occurring in her relationship, telling Rolling Stone anonymously that Miller's home has been a healing haven for the family, but the young ones are reportedly exposed to a large amount of smoke from the illicit substance in poorly ventilated environments, and sources who've been inside the property say that there are about 8 weapons of various sizes just lying around the living room, with some propped up next to a pile of stuffed animals. One source told a particularly disturbing story about one of the little ones finding a loose bullet and putting it in their mouth. Number 4. Mia Solange. Miller has been accused of inflicting twisted acts upon a former intimate partner, Mia Solange. These acts range from physical violence to emotional manipulation after they started dating in 2019. This claim against Miller came to light on April 1st when a Twitter account dedicated to Ezra Miller receipts made a number of messages public exchanged between themselves and the accuser, a young TikToker by the name of Mia Solange, where she declared that Ezra flew her from Hawaii to Oklahoma to work on a movie, and that she was only 19 at the time. She also sent a photo of bruises on her leg supposedly sustained from Ezra, claiming that he would aggressively bite her. Solange's claims against Miller would garner more widespread attention on April 23rd after they shared a now deleted video montage to TikTok featuring photos of the two, most of which were previously seen in the screenshot of their camera roll, and declared, quote, "Ezra Miller is not a good human, and I can finally say so without being terrified." Sounds like it was an absolute nightmare. Number 3. Police body cam footage. A Hawaii police assistant chief recently admitted that Miller had been the source of 10 police calls in Hilo since March 7th, with complaints ranging from filming people at a gas station, traffic obstruction, and refusing to leave a restaurant. But police body cam footage has surfaced online, which really made the actor look terrible. In the video, one of the law enforcement officers is heard calling Miller sir, to which they respond, quote, "I'm sorry, I'm not a sir, I'm transgender non-binary. Please don't call me sir. If you fail to do that again, that is an act of intentional bigotry," and started citing US federal law. While asking police officers to identify themselves, the Flash star could be heard screaming requests for a full badge member and accusing the officers of touching their private parts, saying, quote, "I'm transgender, non-binary, and I don't want to be searched by a man." It was a fair request under the circumstances, but the video just made the actor look bad. Number 2. Harassment protection order. A mother and her child were granted a temporary harassment protection order against Miller in Massachusetts after alleging the actor behaved inappropriately towards the child and also brandished a weapon in a threatening manner. The Daily Beast's investigation reported that the family was at a downstairs neighbor's house on February 2nd, when Miller showed up reportedly wearing a bulletproof vest and started acting in a creepy manner towards the child. Miller allegedly told them, quote, "I've talked extensively with your child and they have a lot of power to them. At one point you're going to realize that you don't have any control over them anymore. They're an elevated being and they would be lucky to have someone like me guide them." The visiting neighbor told the outlet that Miller was especially focused on the child, allegedly pestering them with compliments, uncomfortably hugging them, and even touching their hips. When they were questioned about this, Miller reportedly blew up, opened their jacket to reveal a weapon, and started threatening everyone with it. Number 1. Cult behavior. In January, Chase Ionized accompanied Ezra Miller and his daughter, the now missing 18-year-old indigenous activist Gibson Ionized, to Oakland, California, and claimed that the actor had also brought along 2 other young women, one known as Stella Marbles and the other was Mia Solange. While at a state park, Miller repeatedly told Chase that they believed themselves to be the second coming of Jesus Christ before pulling out a firearm. This really lines up with all their other cult-like behavior, as Gibson is not the only young person who seems to be caught in their spell. Miller has just about kidnapped Gibson and has been creeping on them since they were 12 years old. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Court has issued a protective order against Miller, whom they have accused of using violence and brainwashing to hold sway over the child. That is textbook cult behavior. Number 10, charged with possession. When talking about all of Miller's controversies, it's only fair that we start off a little tame. This one could easily go down as a harmless teenage mistake with all things considered. What happened exactly? Well, in June of 2011, Miller was a passenger in a vehicle that got pulled over for a broken brake light in Pittsburgh while shooting Perks of Being a Wallflower. And no, none of their co-stars were with them at the time, not even Emma Watson. Police found 20 grams of a leafy green substance on Miller, and the then 18-year-old was charged with possession. The judge was very lenient, however, and after giving them a lecture about influencing the younger cast members on set, he dropped the case altogether. The actor instead faced 2 citations of disorderly conduct and was ordered to pay $600. But it's clear Miller wasn't sorry, as they then went on to tell New York Magazine, quote, "It's a harmless herbal substance that increases sensory appreciation." Number 9, kissed a fan. This one is slightly worse, but it's still a bit of a gray area. It was all captured on video in 2017 at a San Diego Comic-Con event when Miller asked fans why their character The Flash would have trouble getting drunk. Someone in the crowd correctly answered that Flash's metabolic rate makes getting tipsy very difficult because it's just so fast. But when another fan jokingly asked Miller to smell their breath just to be sure, Miller responded by kissing the fan on the mouth, planting a big fat kiss on the man's lips without clear consent. The trouble is that Miller seemed pretty wasted in the video, and that's why fans asked if they were drunk in the first place. During the kiss, the crowd cheered and the man was left absolutely stunned as Miller continued to repeatedly kiss his face when asked, quote, "How did it smell?" before walking away. Some people say that the kiss looked consensual based on the fan's non-verbal cues, but he might have just stood still because he was shocked. Number 8, music theft. 2 musicians have accused Ezra Miller of stealing music they worked on and releasing it without giving them credit. Music producer Oliver Ignatius and rapper Guys Guevara claim the actor stole the music they worked on and posted it to social media without credits. Ignatius met up with Miller in both the Northeast and Hawaii to collaborate on new music, but soon realized that they, quote, "seemed to be on a very dangerous spiral," and said that working with the actor felt like pulling teeth. In fact, Ignatius called their behavior atrocious, belligerent, threatening, and incredibly aggressive, also claiming that Miller threw an aggressive temper tantrum because they didn't agree that violence against women was worth singing about. Talk about red flags. But after Ignatius quit the project, Miller then posted the unfinished music online, including songs that they had not worked on at all. Now, Ignatius plans to file a court order for Miller to take the music down. Number 7, idealizes violence. In 2011, the star took the role of a teenage school in We Need to Talk About Kevin. Dubbed as one of the most controversial movies ever made, Miller went very deep into the role of a sociopath, and the ultimate result was a portrayal so unsettling that they even said it bothered some of their friends. Quote, "I do get a certain kind of validation and gratification from the way people will sort of approach me tentatively, with a little bit of fear after they see the film." This admission by itself is not that strange, but it really becomes a red flag when we look at Miller's interview with Vogue several years later, where they asked the writer if she would like to see the crossbow that their character used to attack several classmates in the same film. They apparently keep the crossbow in their house. It's worth noting that the actor is also a huge supporter of the right to bear arms and has said that they don't have a problem with people owning semi-automatic weapons. Quote, "People need to protect themselves." Number 6, choked a woman. This is exactly what it sounds like. In a since deleted tweet, a disturbing video shows Miller choking a woman at a bar in Iceland. The incident took place after Miller was approached by a group of eager young fans who were just excited to have spotted the actor. But the interaction escalated when Miller lost his temper at the young woman shown in the video. In the short clip, they could be heard asking, quote, "Oh, you wanna fight? That's what you want to do?" The woman, who was clearly confused, prepared to fight them in a joking manner, but Miller then attacked the girl by grabbing her by the throat and throwing her to the ground. The whole incident was rather uncomfortable to watch because it's clear that she was only playing around, but Miller was dead serious. The person filming the video could then be heard saying, "Whoa, bro," before the video cuts off abruptly. According to a witness at the bar, Miller was then escorted off the premises by staff. Number 5, first arrest in Hawaii. Ezra Miller's presence is becoming more of an imminent threat to the people of Hawaii than active volcanoes. Their first offense on the island came last month when they were arrested for disorderly conduct and harassment after an alleged incident at a popular Hawaiian night spot. They were arrested after South Hilo officers responded to reports of a disorderly bar patron. Police alleged that Miller had become agitated while other patrons were singing a karaoke rendition of Shallow from A Star Is Born and began yelling obscenities. Miller then grabbed the microphone from 23-year-old woman singing karaoke and later lunged at a 32-year-old man playing darts. The bar owner allegedly asked Miller to calm down several times to no avail. After being arrested and charged on offenses of disorderly conduct and harassment, Miller paid the meager $500 bond and was released from custody. Number 4. Restraining order. After the incident at the bar, you would think Miller has disturbed the peace enough. But when they returned back to the hostel they were staying at, they decided to threaten the couple who lived there. The Hawaiian residents alleged that Miller returned home with a vengeance, burst into the couple's bedroom and screamed, "I will bury you and your wife." The petition alleges that Miller stole the wife's passport and the husband's wallet, which contains his credit cards, social security card, and driver's license. It's unclear whether the items were ever returned. The couple eventually decided they had had enough of Miller's behavior at the hostel and filed a restraining order against the actor. They asked the court to order Miller not to contact them in any form and stay away from their home and places of work. A judge grants the couple the restraining order the following day. Clearly, they weren't going to put up with Miller's anger issues anymore. Number 3. Second arrest in Hawaii. Just 1 month after their arrest for disorderly conduct and harassment, the Flash star found themselves in trouble with the law on the island again this week. This time, their arrest came for second-degree assault after an incident at the residence. At a residence. Officials say Miller became irate after being asked to leave a gathering and threw a chair, which struck a 26-year-old woman on the head, leaving a half-inch cut. Miller was arrested at 1:30 a.m. during a traffic stop and was released from custody at around 4:05 a.m. An investigation into the incident is currently ongoing. The chair incident was more than a red flag, it actually marks a disturbing pattern we're starting to see here when it comes to Miller and violence against women, and it only gets worse from here. Number 2. Allegations of Last week, the parents of 18-year-old activist Gibson Ionized, formerly known as Dakota, accused Miller of their child. According to the Los Angeles Times, the parents of the 18-year-old Gibson Ionized were granted a protective order against the actor, accusing them of physically and emotionally harming the teen and behavior. Parents Chase Ionized and Sarah Jumping Eagle had their interim order of protection for their daughter approved by a judge, which says that Miller cannot contact the family or be within 100 yards of the residence. The parents accused the star of psychologically manipulating, physically intimidating, and endangering the safety and welfare of their child. Most troublingly, Miller and Gibson first met when they were 23 and 12 respectively, at the Standing Rock Reservation during the 2016 political action to stop the Dakota pipeline. Creepy would be an understatement. And coming in at number 1, allegations of kidnapping. 18-year-old Gibson, who according to tribal regulations is still under the care of their parents as they are still considered to be their legal guardians, is believed to be somewhere with Miller at this time, but authorities cannot locate either one of them and their whereabouts are currently unknown. In an interview with People, Sarah says that she has only spoken with Gibson 3 times since February and felt that the phone call was being monitored and interrupted by Miller. She said that Gibson sounded robotic over the phone and said, quote, "Our daughter's basically brainwashed." This lines up with the family's previous allegation that Miller has exhibited behavior in a pattern of corrupting a minor and was secretly supplying Gibson with alcohol and other substances. The parents also say that Miller pressured Gibson to drop out of school, and when they flew to Vermont in January to check on them, their child had bruises on their body and was not in possession of their own driver's license, car keys, or bank card.